Okay, we need to talk about the 3 C's. And in this case, it is cod, the fish, and cotton, like the crop. And do you want to guess the last one?
And 2 million tonnes of carp. 2 million tonnes of carp.
No, I wouldn't pick 2 fish and a crop. The last one is corruption. Now, I'll bring you from hundreds of thousands, millions of dead fish to Parliament. I'll make it real quick. So then, this video is quick, easy to digest, and should be shared far and wide because we can't have people ruining our water supply. That's just like rule number 1. Alright, my job has conveniently been made easier for me by old mate Little Proud going on the record and talking about the dead fish. Now, I'll read what he says and then I'll tell you the reality. Okay, he straight up asked this question. What do you blame for this ecological disaster? Is it the drought, which is reducing the inflows, or is too much water being allocated to irrigators? And this is his response. It's a severe drought, and we have to be honest about that. It's not just the fish that have been hurt in this. In fact, in Western Australia, yada yada yada, kangaroos have died. Quote, we just haven't had the rain, and until we get that, that's the only silver bullet. Oh my god. But this one's my favourite. We have to be honest with the people and get them to understand that there will be more of these events. In fact, there have been 600 of these events in the last 30 to 40 years in New South Wales alone. So it's not a new phenomenon. Well, I wonder what it'd be like to cross-reference the amount of events in the time they've happened with the irrigation and the rise of that across the country. I wonder what the numbers would be like there. That might be interesting to look into, Mr. Minister of Water. Now, let's talk about why these fish died. Okay, the blue-green algae bloomed in the Majindi lakes because they've had too much water taken out. I think it's been drained like twice in 4 years, and you should have 7 or 8 years between. I don't even know why you would do such things. Anyway, the low levels of water, so it's not flowing, it becomes stagnant, and the algae can then reproduce. And with the change of temperature, it sucks all the oxygen out of the water, and all of the fish suffocate. Now, they try to say like this is natural. Yeah, the algae's natural, but it flows through. The water keeps flowing, it doesn't get a chance to reproduce, life keeps going on. But when the water is so low, it just will not have a chance. Yeah, everything's going to die. And yeah, it's not just the fish, because this is the water supply we're talking about. Remember, then it's the animals, the wildlife, and the people's livestock, and the people. And it's also during a drought, so they can't fall back on rainwater. Communities have to have water trucked into them. But let's have a little look. Let's read about what the Murry-Darling Basin website itself says about blue-green algae, shall we? Yeah, it goes on to just explain how it reproduces, which I gave you the rundown of, and the don't let it touch your skin, don't go doing any water sports activities. Alright, here's what it says for people and animal health. Some species produce toxins that when ingested can cause liver damage, upset stomachs, or disorders of the nervous system. Let me say that again. Disorders of the nervous system. So when I've heard people make the link between this algae and motor neuron disease, well, it even sort of has a sign of that here on its own government website. So I feel like that might be something to be concerned about for people in these communities. Alright, let's have a little look at the water levels of these lakes. I also, because I saw some information from the same website. I'm sure David is personally updating this website himself, being ahead of this department and all. He must really care about water and communities, but like he said, he can't make it rain. Okay, as you can see by this, which was updated on the 2nd of January this year, Menindee has 67 gigalitres in its 1,731 capacity. That would probably explain why the water is not moving and is stagnant and the algae is growing and the fish are dying and the people are in danger. I see that information, that seems to match up. Now, all the other water supplies, not many look too concerning, except for maybe this one. It's not much, but it's got more than it says its capacity is, just by a little bit. It's got 10 gigalitres, but that name Chinchilla, why does that seem... Oh, I think that's because it's either in or right next to where I would make Dave's from. Dave got a little to be proud of. Very interesting. If like $13 billion have been thrown at this project, then why would we have these issues? Wouldn't someone have been able to work this out if there's water everywhere else? Why does the nursery for pretty much the whole system, it stocks the fish for everybody else? Why does that have to cop it? For a long time, the Murray won't be the same. The Murray-Darling Basin it has been copying it for a long time, and we are obviously just stepping on the accelerator. Because this whole silver bullet drought thing, well, I have a feeling that, drought or no drought, it might help the environment if we didn't have irrigators with their cotton crops stealing water. Anthony Barlow, in just November, pleaded guilty. But this definitely must be natural. Because this looks natural. This looks really natural. Yeah, we just gotta hope it rains. Now, another cotton farmer who was raided by the police, John Norman. I don't know how to draw the line directly. I'm pretty sure it involves a wife or ex-wife or something. But he might as well hold hands with Dave Got. Very little to be proud of. And I don't really care for personal lives of public figures and ministers at all, unless it involves not even just them taking money from the Australian people, but taking the water from not just the people but the country. If I could come up with an evil plan to ruin Australia, this is probably what I would probably sketch out. Well done. Please share this. Please let people know that they're doing the usual politician thing, standing there lying through their teeth, trying to cover their ass when they are probably pocketing bucket loads of money. You see what they do? They will pump water out of the basin, store it in these ridiculous dams, sell it to each other for their crops and whatnot, but then when the environment's in strife, we buy it back off of them. So we give them our money for our water, and pretty much as soon as it's back in the river, you know what happens? Somebody else pumps it straight back out. Because, we don't need water or anything. It just seems like such a mundane, pointless thing. As long as we protect our coal and oil supplies, we'll be sweet. Fuck the water. It's election year this year, guys. Remember that. If you like things like not having toxic algae scum when you go for your holiday at the river, or maybe even there just being water there, or maybe just instead of having our taxes being just used as a cog in water profiteering. Thank you. Like, subscribe, and roll to vote.
Question is to the Minister for Agriculture and Water Resources. Thanks to Senator Patrick's order for production of documents, we now know that the federal government paid more than twice the market price for water buybacks in the Warrego catchment, paying $1,600 a megalitre versus payment of around $720 a megalitre for similar licences in the same region. Can the Minister explain why more than twice the commercial rate was paid and why the independent valuations were redacted? And is the Minister aware of any relationships or friendships or conflicts of interest between the beneficiaries of the water buybacks in the Warrego catchment and the former or current Minister for Water and Resources?
It is quite obvious about me. Nothing more than a cold, callous political machine. And I do know that destroying the livelihoods of those people.
The Minister for
Lies, shame, lies, shame, lies, shame, lies, shame.